All right, guys, we are going to go over how to, well, we're going to ruin this spree crank, but I'm going to tell you how to not ruin it. So this applies for 2 strokes, 4 strokes. So I hear of it, I see it happen, and we've had it here too. So these are your threads here for your variator. This is a spree crank. It doesn't really have much value, so we're gonna sacrifice it. So some of you spree hardcore people may shed some tears, so keep some tissues handy. But that's just the price you pay for making videos. Okay, so you typically have a dry face here, but let's say you take your nut off, you're doing some work, your buddy comes over and says, yeah, I got an impact driver, but it's way too powerful, doesn't really know how to use it. You take your impact driver, the driver down, go too tight, back it off, and this is what your threads look like afterwards. They're pretty much wrecked, depending on the nut that you use. So, and this is why. If you use an OEM nut, that was the original one that came on your bike, the metal on this nut is softer, is a softer grade than what your crank is. So you guys buying, nuts at Home Depot or whatever, you're gonna risk damaging your threads. So I don't even know where this was just in the drawer. So this likely is an original nut. So what you could do with this, and I've done it before, we've done it in the past, you take a thread chaser, not a die, an actual thread chaser, and you oil this up and you can go back and forth over this thread and you can square this thread up. If you use grade 8 or whatever from Home Depot or wherever you guys are shopping, these are not going to be repairable. These aren't going to be repairable because you're going to just destroy all these threads. These, you can just take the thread chaser and just chase them back out and it'll be fine. That's the importance of using an OEM nut. You're going to ruin the nut, but the nut is a part, obviously it's easy to place. So when you guys are replacing these nuts on the crank, use OEM ones. Don't use, or get really soft ones. Don't use what you're getting at Home Depot, online, whatever. You want to get the OEM nut because over time, if you keep working on this bike and you've got something harder, you've got a nut that's a harder grade than what your crank is, and you're going back and forth over time, you strip it, your dry face comes loose and wobbles around, you're gonna wreck your crank. You wreck your crank, I mean, some of these bikes you can't even get cranks for anymore. Like if you've got an Arrow or something like that, or this spree, you're gonna buy something used, you're gonna spend probably, 80 to 100 and some odd dollars to find a good used crank. Bearings and seals, I don't even think you can get bearings and seals for sprees anymore. You may be able to, I don't know, but I doubt it. So, if it costs you $3-4 to get an OEM nut, do it. Don't get a Home Depot or Lowe's or hardware store nut unless it's softer than your crank, and really it's not worth it. Just get an OEM one so you know that over time, if you're working on your bike, somebody else, even if a shop's working on it later, they're gonna run the risk of ruining your crank. So, and that goes for all this stuff here. This isn't as crucial just because it's a piece that's not too hard to replace, but either way, you're probably still gonna spend $50 to $80 depending on if you have to get an OEM one. But most importantly, OEM nut, use an OEM nut here on the flywheel as well. Don't use something harder than what came originally, because that's a bum deal if you ruin your crank. This one can be repaired. So we've had bikes come in where they're just tight. We had a pre-bug come in and it was really, really tight, and we didn't even touch the bike. We just backed the nut off and it laid all these threads over, kind of goobered up these threads, rather than telling the customer, hey, you need another, $300 worth of work, just $400 worth of work to split the case, put in a new, newer, upgraded aftermarket crank and labor and everything to still the cases back up. We just ran a thread chaser over it, cleaned the threads up, it works perfect, and put on an OEM nut. So something to keep in mind if you're working on your bike. It's not bad to have a couple on hand, but when you're doing your build, plan ahead and get OEM nuts for this stuff because it sucks to ruin your crank. So if you guys have any questions or want specific videos, just post up and tell your friends, subscribe. The more subscribers we get, the more videos we'll make. So this guy, I'm gonna hopefully get on the dyno tomorrow. We're gonna got a Yasuni on it. We're gonna probably test that against an Arrow, against a Scooter Swap Shop 2 fast pipe, and then I've got another pipe here in the corner we'll probably test as well. So subscribe, share the videos to your friends, and you guys want to see specific things on specific bikes or how-tos or whatnot, just let us know and we'll do our best to make it happen. Thanks.